check 1 2 1 2. Mic check 1 2 1 2. Welcome to the Weekly Wake. Today is Wednesday, March 25th, 2026. This is America Post Mortem. I'm your editor-in-chief, Gino Fernandez, and I'm here with my amazing editor, graphic designer as well.
Hey, y'all. I'm Jalen.
And, we're going to get into it. We got some stories for y'all this week. Just go into it. So, news reports from this week. Money for war.
Fake peace deal.
And journalist genocide. Those are pretty much the things we'll be covering today. We're just going to hop right in. Let's start with the gas prices. According to the U.S. Energy Information Administration, independent statistics, gas prices clearly have skyrocketed in March of 2026.
Crazy.
Why could that have happened?
What do you think?
Maybe it's the Iran conflict, the unnecessary aggressive conflict of us attacking a sovereign country and trying to overthrow their government.
Maybe. What they say is like 200 a barrel now, almost.
It said it could get up to 200 a barrel. It's increasing. These are dollars per gallon. It's skyrocketing. I know where I'm at in North Carolina, the gas prices have been just going up every single day. It looks like it goes up 5-10 cents, and it's gone up at least a solid $1.50 since this conflict has started.
In California, it's like $8-9.
Yeah,
probably 10 now.
Yeah, this gray line is California right here. It's over $5 average. I've seen a place in California where it's like $8.50 gallons.
Ridiculous.
Madness. So
soon people aren't going to afford to go to work.
Right. And people can't afford to go to work. This is causing energy crises all over the world, especially in Cuba, but we'll cover that another day. Where's the money going? Where is it? The war in Iran. Not only is the oil supply chain is being disrupted, but also we're spending a lot of money on this war. So let's get into some of these numbers.
If you look at just the first 100 hours of the war on Iran, the U.S. spent $3.7 billion.
With the B.
That's more than what most countries spent on their entire militaries in 2024.
And run that back. I didn't have the volume on.
If you look at just the first 100 hours of the war on Iran, the U.S. spent $3.7 billion.
With the B.
That's more than what most countries spent on their entire militaries in 2024. Gone in 4 days. Less than 5% of it approved by Congress. Here's how much a day of war on Iran costs the U.S. The Center for Strategic and International Studies broke down the bill. Item 1, operations. Keeping more than 200 fighter jets in the air, a fleet of warships at sea, and artillery on the ground.
Right.
About $196 million. Most of it was already budgeted. The real cost was what this war machine fired. Item 2, munitions. Over 2,600 guided weapons launched in 100 hours. Missiles, precision bombs, drones. Replacing them cost $3.1 billion. Item 3, things that broke. 3 F-15 jets
what,
destroyed
4
by
days?
friendly fire in
Around 4 or
Kuwait.
5 days?
The bill came in at $359 million.
5 days.
Add it all up, and it's $3.7 billion for 4 days of war. At the beginning of the campaign, the most
just the first
expensive
4 days.
weapons went first. On day one, Iranian air defenses could
This
destroy
conflict
almost
has been
anything
going
that
on
got
for
close.
a month.
So the U.S. struck from a distance with Tomahawk
just
cruise
do the
missiles
math, right.
at $3.6
Well,
million
that is where
apiece.
money's
By day 4, with Iranian defenses degraded, bombers dropped $80,000 smart bombs. But the most expensive part of this war isn't the bombing, it's stopping what Iran fires back. A Shahed drone costs Iran up to $50,000. Shooting one down can cost 100 times more. In 4 days, Iran launched 500 ballistic missiles and 2,000 drones. And they don't necessarily need to hit anything. Every launch depletes the other side's air defense
I'm missing a lot of
stockpile.
videos.
Gulf
missile
allies
defense
helped
is
absorb
missing.
the blow.
Yeah.
They intercepted more than 1,800 missiles and drones. So who pays for all this, and how? Of the $3.7 billion,
Us, we do.
only $178 million was in the Pentagon's budget. Everything else, no funding source. The Trump administration is running this war on a military credit card, and Congress hasn't seen the bill yet. When it arrives, there are 3 ways to pay. 1, a supplemental spending bill. Trump asks Congress for emergency money, the way George W. Bush did after Iraq and Afghanistan. But every vote on funding becomes a vote on the war. 2, redirect part of the $150 billion from the first Trump reconciliation
Will
bill.
your senator
But that
vote
money
on
has
the war?
already been promised
We'll see.
elsewhere. 3, roll it into a future spending bill
Your
that may never
representative?
pass.
We'll see.
Today, every day of
They're
this
taking
war
money from
costs
AIPAC.
close to
They
$1 billion.
probably definitely are
Some
gonna-
Republicans
are gonna
estimate it
spend
may
money on
even
the
be
war.
double that.
'Cause this
And
is a
4
war for
days
Israel,
cost about
not the
what it
United
would
States.
to rebuild every single school destroyed in Gaza.
To rebuild every school in Gaza. But instead, we're just going to bomb Iran. Ridiculous.
Horrible.
Yeah.
It's horrible. I saw something. They're planning on building a FIFA stadium in Gaza, a soccer stadium.
Yeah, sick. Just sick.
Donald Trump has spent $30 billion on this war in Iran. And to put that in perspective, that would cover the Affordable Care Act tax credits that Donald Trump let expire this year and basically lower the cost for millions of Americans. He says we don't have money for health care, but we have money for this reckless, illegal war halfway around the world. That's nuts.
Right. So they cut people's health care in the Affordable Care Act at the top of this year. But we still find money because they couldn't afford it. That was their excuse. And now they find the money to, for this ridiculous war in Iran.
And they still want us to pay our student loans,
Right.
but spent $3 billion in 4 days.
Just 4 days. Really $4 billion. But I mean, it's like it's going well, right?
Donald
Like,
Trump has spent.
There's a little quote from Tupac. They got money for the war, but can't feed the poor.
Tupac Shakur,
Facts.
bars.
Christian
Rest in
wisdom.
peace.
Rest in peace. Let's get to some more numbers.
More than $890 million a day. That is how much the war against Iran is costing
cool.
American
Like $1 billion
taxpayers.
a day.
That big
Nice.
number comes from the Center for Strategic and International Studies.
I'm still getting
now, the
emails
Department
from
of Defense is
the
not
student loan
releasing a whole
people.
lot of details or specifics about what it is spending. So what these analysts did was take the actions they know that are going on and compare them to normal congressional estimates. That's how they came up with these numbers. So what do we have?
You paying your student
Operations are clocking in at $30 million a
back in
day
blood.
for the air
Facts.
portion of all of this. Naval maneuvers at $15 million a day. Ground operations at $1.6 million. All those explosions, the bombs, missiles, artillery, about $1.5 billion in just the first 100 hours. And those interceptor units to stop Iranian missiles and drones, $1.7 billion in that time. Now, these analysts say it's fully possible those costs will start dropping now, since the start of such a conflict is usually the most expensive time. But we still don't know how long this is going to go on, and if ultimately
Right,
the
when's
Trump
the end date for
administration
this war?
decides to
There
put
isn't
boots
one.
on the ground, well, the
wasn't even
Penn-Wharton
a start
budget
date
model
either.
suggests
Right.
if that were to happen, and this went on for 2 months, the cost could be as high as $95 billion.
Right. Said it could be $95 billion if the war goes on for 2 months.
With a B.
It's already gone on for 1 month. Ridiculous. Yeah. So, did they have enough money? Did they already spend enough money? No, they're actually begging for more money for this war. How much money? $200 billion, but you know, that number can move. That number can move.
With the B, billion.
There was a report last night that the Pentagon asked the White House for $200 billion for Iran war supplemental. Can you confirm this, and can you explain why a package this large is necessary?
Well, first of all, none of this would have been possible without Midnight Hammer, without that audacious mission with very clear goals that did
What an ugly ass handkerchief, by the way. I just had to say something.
obliterate their ability to enrich
At all. Like plaid and flag, like what are you going for?
and the capabilities they have in those facilities. So it created the conditions for Iran to step forward and say, okay, you can reach out and touch us like that in our nuclear ambitions. You can see that we're still trying to do this. Let's make a deal. And the president...
By the way, he's saying Iran had nuclear ambitions. They do not have any nuclear weapons, and that's according to the United States Intelligence Agency. So he's just lying straight up.
Trump put our two best folks on it, Steve and Jared, and they worked diligently, earnestly. I watched it to try to pursue that deal. And ultimately, I think the whole time Iran sort of said, well, we'll talk as we build more missiles and as we build more UAVs and we create this conventional umbrella so that if we chose to, we could try to reconstitute the program. And sort of naively thinking that President Trump wouldn't do something about it. And that's why, as Secretary Rubio has said, and I've said, it's the conventional umbrella that was growing and growing and growing that was meant to protect that nuclear capability. So you had to address both what happened with Midnight Hammer and what happened with that as well. As far as $200 billion, I think that number could move, obviously. It takes money to kill bad guys.
He's so serious,
we're going back to Congress and our folks there to ensure that we're properly funded for what's been done, for what we may have to do in the future, ensure that our ammunition is, everything's refilled, and not just refilled, but above and beyond. I mean, President Trump, as he said, rebuilt the military in his first term, didn't think he'd use it as dynamically in his second, but he had. So thank goodness he did that.
That number could move.
And an investment like this is meant to say, hey, we'll replace anything that was spent. And now that we're reviving our defense industrial base and rebuilding the arsenal of freedom and cutting deals like our great deputy secretaries here is doing, long lead times on exquisite munitions.
All right, I'm done. We need money to kill the bad guys. Oh, like the little girls that were murdered, the 165 plus little girls that was murdered at the elementary school, because that was like the first thing that happened. That's what those are the bad guys, elementary school girls, age 7 to 12.
Yeah, they're bad. They're a threat.
Right. We need money to kill those bad guys. More like bad little girls, little elementary school girls.
And teachers.
And teachers and staff. And innocent civilians. It's the United States aren't even hitting military targets for real. They're just sort of. And Israel. They're mainly attacking civilians. The civilian death toll is, I don't even know, but it's been way over 1,000. Yeah, so we need money to kill civilians, innocent people. That's what he's actually trying to say here. Yeah. Just sick. This is a sick fuck. Yeah, so Trump was, he threatened to attack their power plants. But then he said, well, hold on, we'll go on a 5-day pause. We'll go on a 5-day pause because we're having good negotiating talks, which... let's just see.
With just hours left before his deadline to attack Iran's biggest power plant, President Trump now says the U.S. and Iran have held productive talks for the past 2 days. And as a result, he says he is pausing attacks on Iran's energy facilities. Here's more of what he said about all of this just moments ago.
We have had very, very strong talks. We'll see where they lead. We have major points of agreement. I would say almost all points of agreement. Perhaps that hasn't been conveyed. The communication, as you know, has been blown to pieces. They're unable to talk to each other. But we've had very strong talks.
They're unable to talk to each other, but they're talking to us.
They went...
So it's not making sense.
I would say perfectly.
Perfectly.
President Trump wouldn't say who the White House is dealing with, but he insisted, quote, this is regime change. Yet Iranian media and officials are reportedly denying all of this. They're saying no negotiations have taken place.
Right. Trump's saying, yeah, we're having peace talks. It's going well. It's actually going perfectly. Iran's like, no, you're not. We're not having, that's just not happening. What I think is happening is the United States is getting their ass whooped over there, and he's trying to figure out a plan to do something slimy, do something dirty. Iran actually said that if you attack their power plants, then we'll attack the power plants of all of the Gulf states. So maybe that's why he's stopped. Maybe because he's scared of what they're actually going to do.
Yeah.
Because he's been caught blindsided that Iran actually is standing up for themselves, and they're actually defending themselves pretty well. Yeah.
We're losing very badly.
Yeah. The United States is losing very badly. Yeah. Let's see what the Iranian officials have to say about those peace talks.
Reports that negotiations are underway between the US and Iran have failed to stop attacks across the Middle East. It's been nearly 4 weeks since the US and Israel attacked Iran, launching a war with global consequences. While all sides initially said there was no room for diplomacy, President Trump now says the US has been negotiating with an unnamed Iranian leader, a claim that Iranian officials have once again denied.
Who is he talking to? I think there was a joke one time. It was like, Trump was like, yeah, I just got off the phone with the president of Puerto Rico. And it's like, you're the president of Puerto Rico. Who are you on the phone with? Who is he talking? Who does he think he's talking to?
He got imaginary people.
It's probably like Bibi Netanyahu doing like an Iranian,
probably using AI voice,
using an Iranian accent, just fooling Trump. Like, yeah, but this is what Iranian officials had to say. Lieutenant Colonel Ibrahim Zogafari.
قدرت راهبردی که از آن دم می‌زدید تبدیل به شکست راهبردی شده. مدعی ابرقدرتی دنیا اگر می‌توانست از این مخمسه رها شود تا حالا شده بود. اسم شکستتان را توافق نگذارید. دوران وعده‌هایتان به سر رسیده. سطح خود درگیری‌هایتان به مرحله مذاکره خودتان با خودتان رسیده. صراحتاً اعلام می‌کنیم تا موعدی که اراده ما نباشد هیچ وضعیتی به روال سابق بر نمی‌گردد. این اراده زمانی ایجاد می‌شود که به طور کامل فکر اقدام علیه ملت ایران از اذهان کثیف شما پاک شود. حرف اول و آخر ما از همان روز نخست این بوده، هست و خواهد بود. کسی همچون ما با کسی مثل شما کنار نخواهد آمد، نه حالا و نه هیچ وقت دیگری.
He seems very clear. I don't think they're having
direct, very clear.
Yeah, I don't think they're having those peace talks. I think Trump is full of shit, literally. Diaper butt. All right.
He talking to ChatGPT.
Right. He talking.
Iranian officials rejecting the U.S.'s 15.
So they did end up proposing a peace deal to Iran, and Iran responded.
Iranian officials rejecting the U.S.'s 15-point peace plan a day after receiving the offer. State media saying Iran does not believe it is logical to enter talks with parties that violate agreements, acknowledging the U.S. has stepped up efforts to secure a ceasefire with indirect talks.
Right. So last year, when there were peace talks between Iran and the United States and Israel attacked Iran in the middle of the negotiations. And the beginning of this war, there were negotiations and talks, and then they murdered the leader of Iran. So it seems like every time that the United States wants to negotiate, they actually just want to kill the other party. So, I wouldn't make a deal with Trump either. And especially not a deal that he thinks is perfectly. It's not going to be in their favor. They're not interested in being destroyed. I don't see this ending anytime soon. I think the United States wants it to come to a stop, but Iran said, "Nah, you already started this. You started it." And I feel like Israel doesn't mind using all of the United States' resources to fight a war on their behalf. So. Very interesting. And so escalation, right? Troops, boots on the ground.
Boots are on the ground.
Where are your fans at? Let's see.
All right, we're going to start tonight with some breaking news. Troops stationed at Fort Bragg are being deployed to the war in Iran.
That's according to sources reporting to CBS News. The troops are part of the highly specialized 82nd Airborne Division. This comes 1 week after senior military commanders submitted requests related to the potential use of ground troops in Iran. The Pentagon and White House have both deferred questions about any potential ground operations. We spoke with Governor Josh Stein earlier today about the war's impact on North Carolina's large military community. Here's what he had to say.
We're all very worried about what that means for the service members here and the service member families. And so we pray that this comes to a quick conclusion. Unfortunately, this seems to be a costly war that was done without a really clearly articulated goal or an end game.
Right. No goal, just vibes, just death and destruction.
Just sending people to die.
Yeah. Yeah, I think they're just sending troops on a death mission. That's what it feels like to me.
Having them jump out of planes.
Yeah. Iran is so ready for the smoke.
It's sniped in the air.
Even as President Trump claims peace talks are underway, tonight the Army is preparing to deploy up to 1,500 troops from the elite 82nd Airborne Division to the Middle East to support the war. The president has said he does not plan to put boots on the ground, but the soldiers of the 82nd are trained to parachute behind enemy lines. Their deployment on top of the 4,500 Marines and sailors expected to arrive in the region this week. It comes as President Trump and Iran send clashing messages about whether they're negotiating. Trump insists they are.
The leaders are all gone. Nobody knows who to talk to. But we're actually talking to the right people, and they want to make a deal so badly.
We don't know who to talk to.
Iran
but we're
says
talking
that
to
is
the right
simply
people.
not true, that there are
one
no
is it?
talks, and that Trump's statements are part of efforts to reduce energy prices and buy time for the implementation of his military plans. The president will not say which Iranian leaders the U.S. is talking to.
We have really regime change. This is a change in the regime because the leaders are all very different than the ones that we started off with that created all those problems.
Today, he cryptically noted that he knows Iran is going to make a deal because they just gave the U.S. what he called a very big present.
They did something yesterday that was amazing, actually. They gave us a present, and the present arrived today. And it was a very big present worth a tremendous amount of money.
Very
and
nice.
I'm not going to tell you
present.
what that present is, but it was a very
not gonna tell us.
significant prize. And they gave it to us, and they said they were going to give it. So that meant one thing to me: we're dealing with the right people.
It's ridiculous. I think he's full of shit. Yeah, we'll move on to our next segment, next story. Yeah, the RT reporter who almost got killed by a missile.
Were reported against Nahariya and admitted.
Yeah, on live television. Boom. Mitras. Yeah, they're okay. They're just treated for shrapnel. Thank God. Just bits and pieces.
أول مرة عن جد غرال على السويد شباب نحن مناح ما في شيء بخوف وطلع الصاروخ ونزل عليك بتسمعوا.
Were reported against Nahariya and admitted.
So he's saying it was a deliberate attack by Israel. That's what the reporter's claiming. It's a plotted attack and a targeted assassination of a journalist, if you will. Yeah, right. They said missile strikes cannot be an accident. You're not accidentally dropping missiles, you know. We just saw how much those missiles cost. It's not like he was at an army base or anything. And then Israel loves trying to defend itself on the internet, saying a journalist was seen at a prohibitive crossing. Explicit warning was issued. And they said they do not target civilians or journalists and operates in accordance with international law.
Were reported against Nahariya and admitted.
One more time for the people.
Literally.
Craziness. Well, let's see about that. Does Israel kill journalists? Let's see. Well,
frankly,
in 2025, 129 journalists were killed.
I'm losing words to describe the horror of this.
129 journalists were killed worldwide in 2025, making it the deadliest year on record since the Committee to Protect Journalists began collecting this data in 1992. Israel was responsible for 2/3 of these killings in attacks on the press in Gaza, Yemen, and Iran. The Israeli military has committed more targeted killings of journalists than any other government's armed forces in the 3 decades since CPJ began collecting data.
Those local journalists are our only eyes and ears on ground, and they are the only ones who are being able to report on what is happening and document the reality on the ground. Killing them means that we will no longer hear about what is happening in Gaza.
These journalists risked their lives to show the world the horrors of war that engulfed their home. Intensifying conflicts in Ukraine and Sudan also proved deadly for journalists.
A lot of deaths are associated with conflict. Sudan had the highest number of journalists killed on the African continent.
Even in the absence of active conflict, journalists in Mexico, the Philippines, and India were killed in 2025, often targeted in retaliation for their reporting on corruption, politics, and crime. Every journalist killed was a truth teller who deserves justice. We will not stop seeking it.
Yep. So, yeah. I think Israel was trying to kill him on purpose. I think it was a targeted attack. Out of the 129 killings, Israel was responsible for 86 of them. 5 nations are responsible for 84% of all of them. That's a big difference between 86 killed journalists versus 9. I don't think any journalist should be killed, but yeah, that's pretty distinct. I think Israel would be my guess. If you were attacked as a journalist in Lebanon, I think Israel might have tried to assassinate you. I definitely agree with his suspicions. And just to put that in perspective of how many dead journalists, this is not a normal thing. This is not it's completely illegal under international law. But yeah, here's some more context for that. Gaza is the deadliest conflict ever for journalists.
Gaza has become the deadliest conflict ever for journalists. More journalists have been killed in Gaza than in both world wars, Vietnam War, wars in Yugoslavia, and the war in Afghanistan combined, according to one research institute. As Francesca mentioned, the UN number right now is 252, but that is, of course, likely to go up because every week we hear news of more killings. In August alone, 9 journalists were killed in 3 horrific, bloody incidents, as you may remember. Many of these 252 journalists have been targeted, by which we mean deliberately picked out and killed because of the work that they are doing to expose the atrocities, the crimes, the genocide on the ground.
Right. So, yeah, if I had to guess, I think Israel's trying to kill him. I don't know.
For sure.
Yeah. Well, that brings us to the end of our episode of America Post Mortem. Post Mortem does not change the past, but it reveals the truth we refuse to see. And, yeah, thank you for tuning in. Meet the news team, editor-in-chief, and our editor and graphic designer, Jalen Willis. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Yeah, see you next week.
Bye, y'all.